I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding, and even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong.
Michael!
Jesus, don't you see what he's doing here in Haddonfield? He killed one sister 15 years ago. Now he's trying to kill the other.
You want her? Here she is.
There are two basic fears, which are universal. The first is the fear of the unknown. The idea that there are things out there that can't be explained is both fascinating and frightening to us. Even if you take the most basic fear, being in the dark. Nobody likes being in the dark. You don't know if you're going to walk into something or someone. And that leads to fear number two, which is fear of what we can't control. So when you have something out there that can't be explained and can't be controlled, then it's become a threat.
What about the jack-o'-lantern?
Half the movie.
What about the rest of my comic books?
Half the jack-o'-lantern.
What about the Boogeyman?
Every society, every culture has its own interpretation of the Boogeyman. And just as the image or shape of the Boogeyman is different from culture to culture, it's also different from child to child. By definition, it's nothing more complicated than a physical manifestation of what we fear the most. So now the fear is not just a concept, it's now a physical form. It has a face. And now that it's something you can see, it's become a threat. And once it becomes a threat, that's when all that wonderful chemical reaction inside of us all, gives that sensation of the fight or flight response. And now it's become something that has to be confronted and dealt with, which is where you have the birth of movie monsters.
It's alive. Oh, it's alive. It's alive. It's alive. It's alive. Oh, in the name of God. Now I know what it feels like to be God.
More Wolfbane. More effective than Wolfbane, Count. Indeed.
I've always believed that giving an audience a horror film is a lot like serving them alcohol. They like the taste of that first round, so they may ask you for another one. But by the time you get to the fifth or sixth round, they're starting to develop a tolerance for what you're giving them. And you either have to make the next one a lot stronger, or you might have to come up with something totally different. And that's exactly what filmmakers find themselves in the position of when it comes to, trying to find new and improved ways to scare an audience. The Draculas and Frankensteins and Wolfmans of the day were great films, and they're still great films. But audiences began to turn cold at the idea of a larger-than-life creature being frightening, because their psyche had already done a good job of telling them that this is not real and this could never happen. And then you had one film that came along that completely broke the mold in terms of how horror films were going to be done. Psycho was groundbreaking because it terrified audiences on a completely different level. Now it wasn't just being fearful of some physical form. It was the fear of our own mortality, and how quickly and easily that could be taken from us in an extremely grisly and savage way. And it wasn't being done by some lumbering creature that could just as easily be dismissed as make-believe. It was done by another human being. Even after the success of Psycho, film audiences were asking, what's next? And when you've already crossed the threshold in terms of showing what a human being is capable of doing, to be a threat, then there's really only one other direction you can turn to in terms of crafting a nemesis that's going to be far more dangerous and far more frightening.
All right, let's see what to do.
Keep away! The sow is mine!
When you bring in the supernatural, of course, you're bringing in not just the fear of ghosts, but of course just the idea that evil in some form exists and can and will attack the innocent.
You know what she did?
The search goes on in San Francisco for the man known as the Zodiac Killer. The elements involved today included psychiatrists, astrologists, and police guards for school buses. Terry Drinkwater reports.
School children are nice targets. I shall wipe out a school bus some morning, shoot out the tires, and then pick off the kiddies as they come bounding out. That was the threat of the Zodiac Killer. Now, every day, police cars follow the buses which would be likely targets.
It was becoming clear that despicable acts of evil were no longer just limited to the screen.
We have a weird homicide.
In a scene described by one investigator as reminiscent of a weird religious rite, 5 persons, including actress Sharon Tate, were found dead at the home of Miss Tate and her husband, screen director Roman Polanski. Miss Tate, who starred in Valley of the Dolls, was 8 months pregnant and was found in a bikini-type nightgown with a rope around her neck attached to the body of a man.
2 bodies inside, 2 bodies outside.
There was a climate of fear because there were serial killers out there.